What's up, YouTube? Zandar the Legend here today with a Commander unboxing of Built from Scratch. This was was on sale, I guess, from a local Walmart. I've been needing to get the red Built from Scratch because there is a worm coil engine in here as well as a couple other cards. And I think this was on sale. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 24 bucks. Little concerned though, because it is a sealed product, but it looks very, I don't know, the glue looks like a good line, but open product now, that's the only thing I know. But the card looked like it was in there good. It feels like it was weighted good, so I think we're going to be just fine. Let's pop this guy out of here and take a look at him. Not too big a fan of the oversized foil cards, but that's why you get another normal one in the set. So we'll just go over that one in just a second. And it is a sealed pack, which I was hoping it would be. I was pretty confident. You never know, though, when you catch stuff on really good sales. Inside here, we have something about the Commander deck and probably some of the other Commander decks as well. I've never actually opened it up all the way to look at it. But that is what I'm going to assume. Probably teach people how to play Commander, since a lot of people didn't play EDH until recently. And a rules reference card, as always. Let's jump right into it and see what all the Built from Scratch deck contains. Do a couple different stacks here. Gonna have an emblem for Doriti, is that his name? Whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. And I think these are double-sided. Yeah, see, that's a double-sided. So you get Tuck the returned on there. Hey, he's a 5/5 legendary golem. Some mirror artifact tokens. Gonna have penatives on the back of those. Gonna have some goblin tokens with goats. Guess I should show this a little better. Here's going to be some of the worm tokens. 3/3 Death Touch worm and a goat. 3/3 Lifelink worm and a goat. And a mirror and another pentative. So that one didn't make it in with all the rest of them. Going to have a lot of different mountains here. All the way down to there. Now, as far as land goes, I believe this will be all of our special land next. We're going to have an Arcane Lighthouse. You can tap it, add 1 mana to your pool, tap it, pay and spend 1 and tap it. Until end of turn, creatures your opponents control lose Hexproof and Shroud and can't have Hexproof or Shroud. Very powerful ability. And maybe that's the only premium land. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Our first mythic is Doriti the Scrap Savant. We've already seen his emblem token, 3 uncolored and a red for 3 loyalty. You can +2 and discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. For -2, you can sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact from your graveyard to the battlefield. And for -10, you get that emblem. Our next possible commander here that's a mythic is Felden of the Third Path. 1 uncolored, double red for a 2/3. You can spend 3 mana and tap it. Put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I love how many mythics and rares you get in these boxes. It's just crazy. You got a Bosch Iron Golem, rare, 8 mana for a 6/7 with trample. For 4 mana, you can sacrifice an artifact, and the Iron Golem deals combat damage equal to the sacrificed artifact's converted mana cost to the target creature or player. A Goblin Welder, a 1 mana for a 1/1. You can tap and choose target artifact the player controls and target artifact card in that player's graveyard. If both targets are still legal as this ability resolves, that player simultaneously sacrifices the artifact and returns it. A lot of really cool ways to get your artifacts back into play and get some of your bad ones out early and your good ones in early. Get your good ones in early as well. Tuck the Explorer, 3 mana for a 1/1 with haste. If he dies, put a legendary 5/5 colorless goblin golem creature with artifact creature. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk today. You guys get it. We've seen the card. It's just the way it goes. Dualcaster Mage, 1 uncolored, double red for a 2/2 with flash. He's a human wizard. When he enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for that copy. And we're even going to have some dragons in this deck, it looks like. For 4 and double red, we're going to have a 5/5 flying dragon. 4 mana, destroy target artifact. The Horde Smelter Dragon gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the artifact's converted mana cost. So he's definitely got the artifact synergy, even for being a dragon. Warmonger Hellkite, 4 uncolored, double red for a 5/5 flying dragon. All creatures attack each turn. All creatures attack each combat if able. I got you. I don't know why it's worded like that. It seems like it's worded a little weird. Maybe it's just my tongue today. Tyrant's Familiars of 5 uncolored, double red. A lot of double red in this for 5/5 flying with haste. He also has Lieutenant, which is a mechanic for the commanders. As long as you control your commander, the familiar gets +2/+2 and has, whenever the familiar attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls. Really, really good dragon there. Hellkite, we've seen this guy plenty of times. 6 uncolored, double red for a 5/5 flash with flying. If he enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose any among any number of target creatures and or players. Another mythic dragon in there. Bitter Feud, 4 uncolored, run a red enchantment. It enters the battlefield, choose 2 players. If a source controlled by one of those chosen players would deal damage to the other chosen player, or a permanent that player controls, that source deals double the damage to that player or permanent instead. Very powerful extra damage. Impact Resonance is a 2 mana ability. It deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures, where X is the greatest amount of damage dealt by a source to a permanent or player this turn. Chaos Warp, for 2 uncolored and a red. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into his or her library, then reveals the top card of his or her library. If it's a permanent card, he or she puts it onto the battlefield. Volcanic Offering, 4 uncolored and a red. Destroy target non-basic land you don't control, and target non-basic land of an opponent's choice you don't control. Volcanic Offering deals 7 damage to target creature you don't control, and 7 damage to target creature of an opponent's choice you don't control. Man, so much damage. Word of Seizing, 5 mana cost for instant ability. It has Split Second. As long as this spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Untap the target permanent and gain control of it until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. Pretty strong card there, I feel like. Magma Quake is X and double red. It deals X damage to each creature without flying and each planeswalker. Man, and it kills planeswalkers. Really powerful card. Starstorms, X and 2 red. It deals X damage to target creature. It has cycling of 3. For 3 mana, discard this card and draw a card. Scrap Mastery, another picture of Duretti there. For 3 uncolored and double red, each player exiles all artifact cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all artifacts he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled this way onto the battlefield. Wow, if you got some artifacts going, talk about a way to get them out there. Insight Rebellion, 4 uncolored, double red for sorcery. For each player, Insight Rebellion deals damage to that player, and each creature that player controls equal to the number of creatures he or she controls. I feel like in Commander, you're just going to have a lot of cards that have a ton of different things on them, and you got to read a ton of different abilities. So, it's just kind of the way Commander goes. It makes it a little more fun, I guess, because you're getting a lot more higher played cards. Blasphemous Act is 8 uncolored and a red. It costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield. It deals 13 damage to each creature. Wow. Talk about a kill everything card. And here we should see all of our artifacts. There's going to be quite a few of them. I don't know how we say this. Apocryphite for 2 uncolored and 1/1 enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. If you didn't cast it from your hand, when it dies, exile it with 3 time counters on it, and it gains Suspend. Junk Diver, 3 uncolored for a 1/1. When it dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. It keeps us. We want to get as many of those cards back since it is a singleton format. Solomon Simulacrum? I don't know how you say that. 4 uncolored for a 2/2. Enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. When it dies, you may draw a card. Anything that lets you get more lands in play is just amazing. Especially when you're playing such big creatures in this deck. Steel Hellkite, 6 uncolored for a 5/5 flying. For 2 uncolored, it gets +1/+0 till end of turn. You can pump it as much as you want. And for X, destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X, whose controller was dealt combat damage by the Hellkite this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. Here's the mythic you've been waiting for. This is one of the reasons I bought the entire deck. Wormcoil Engine. We see a lot of decks running 3 or 4 of these. 6 uncolored for a 6/6 as Death Touch and Lifelink. And more importantly, whenever it dies, put a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Death Touch and another 3/3 with Lifelink onto the battlefield. Extremely solid card. It sees play in several modern decks. Mirror Battlesphere, 7 uncolored for a 4/7. When it enters the battlefield, put 4 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature tokens on the battlefield. When it attacks, you may tap X untap mirrors you control. If you do, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn and deals X damage to defending creature. This reminds me of a one of those really old sci-fi horror movies. Oh, shoot. I can't think of the name of it. If you know it, leave it in the comments down below. It's like Critters or something, I think. They made those big balls and would like run through a city and like just eat people. Pentavus, 7 uncolored for a 0/0. It enters the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters on it. You can remove a counter and put a 1/1 colorless Pentavus artifact creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Which, I mean, that's those little things back there, which we've seen a lot of those tokens earlier. You can also do 1 and sacrifice a Paventite and put a 1/1 counter back on Paventus. So you can just kind of move it around, make them as strong or as weak as you want them to be. Ruby Medallion, 2 uncolored. Red spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Jalum Tomb, 3 uncolored. For 2 and tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Trading Posts, pretty common card we see in a lot of different commander decks. 4 uncolored. For 1, you can tap, discard a card, you gain 4 life. You can do pay 1 life, put a 0/1 white goat creature on the token on the battlefield. Sacrifice a creature, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Sacrifice artifact, draw a card. Going to be pretty good as we got so many artifacts in this deck. Cage Sun, 6 uncolored. Artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+1. Whenever a land's ability adds 1 or more mana of the chosen color to your mana pool, add 1 additional mana of that color to your mana pool. Well, I mean, shoot, there you go. A good way to ramp up some mana. Spine of Ish-Saw, 7 uncolored. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent. Whenever it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return Spine of Ish-Saw to its owner's hand. A rare land of Flamekin Village. As it enters the battlefield, you may reveal an elemental card from your hand. If you don't, the village enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it and add 1 red to your pool, or you can spend a red and tap it, and target creature gains haste until end of turn. Buried Ruin. So yeah, we got a lot of special lands towards the back of this. You can tap it and add 1 uncolored to your pool, or you can spend 2 and tap it to sacrifice the ruin. Return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. All about getting our important cards back out of the graveyard. Darksteel Citadel, we've all seen this. It's indestructible. You can tap it and add 1 colorless to your pool. Dormant Volcano. Enters the battlefield tapped. The volcano enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return an untapped mountain you control to its owner's hand. You can tap it and add 1 uncolored and a red to the mana pool. All about mana fixing. Forgotten Cave enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it and add 1 mana to your pool. It also has cycling, so you can discard this card and draw a card for just 1 mountain. Ghost Quarter. Tap and add 1 mana to your pool, or you can tap and sacrifice it, destroy target land. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle his or her library. The Great Furnace, it's just an artifact land. You can tap it, add a red to your pool. Phyrexia's Core, tap and add 1 colorless to your pool, or you can pay 1 and tap it, sacrifice the artifact, and you gain 1 life. Reliquary Tower, we've seen a lot of. It was just to get. It was in not Modern Masters. Oh my goodness! It was in Core 15. As an uncommon as well, you have no maximum hand size. Tap and add 1 mana to your pool. 1 colorless mana. Smoldering Crater. Enters the battlefield tapped. You can add 1 red to your pool. It also has cycling of 2. Now we're into our... Well, that was a common land, but... Temple of the False God. You can tap and add 2 to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands, which will be easily done in this deck. Alright. Making progress through the EDH deck as it is. Commander decks are 100 cards. Flame Tongue Kavu, 4 mana for a 4/2. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to target creature. Nothing like paying 4 damage for 4 burn with a 4/2. Beetleback Chief, 4 mana for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield. Sorry for hitting my mic there. Or my camera. Ingot Chewer is a 5 mana cost, 3/3. Enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact. It also has an evoke cost of 1. You can play it for its evoke cost. If you do, sacrifice it when it enters the battlefield. You may cast the spell for its evoke cost. If you do, it's sacrificed when it enters the battlefield. So what, you'd pay 1 just to destroy the target artifact. Alright, okay, that makes sense. Spite Bellows, 6 mana for a 6/1. When it leaves the battlefield, it deals 6 damage to a target creature. You can also evoke it for 3 mana. Faithless Looting, 1 mana, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. It also has flashback for 3. Whip Flare, 2 mana. When Whip Flare does 2 damage to each non-artifact creature, which is great in this deck. And here we go with more artifact creatures again. You think they'd put stuff like all together in here and really keep it, I don't know, keep it a little more organized. It's kind of funny the way they print stuff and put it in. The Mirror Retriever is a 2 uncolored 1/1. When it dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Mirror Sire, 2 for 1/1. When it dies, put a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token onto the battlefield. Bottle Gnomes, love the graphics on Bottle Gnomes. 3 mana for a 1/3. You can sacrifice them and gain 3 life. And then you can pull them back from the graveyard and sacrifice them, and pull them back from the graveyard and sacrifice them, and you got a lot of health. Cathedonian, 3 uncolored for a 3/3. When it dies, add 3 uncolored to your mana pool. Palladium Mire, 3 for a 2/2. You can tap and add 2 uncolored to your mana pool. Pilgrim's Eye is a 3 mana cost 1/1 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your library. Everflowing Chalice is a 0 mana multi-kicker of 2. You can pay an additional 2 any number of times as you cast a spell. Everflowing Chalice enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked. Tap and add 1 mana to your pool for each charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. Can be a lot of mana late game. Panic Spellbombs of 1 mana artifact. You tap it and sacrifice it. Target creature can't block this turn. When it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1 mountain. If you do, you can draw a card as well. Soul Ring's a 1 mana artifact. You can add 2 mana to your pool. Wayfarer Baubles, a 1 mana, 2 for tap. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. The Fire Diamond, 2 uncolored, it enters the battlefield tapped. You can add a red to your mana pool. All about the mana ramping to get our big artifacts out. And then once they die, pulling them back from the graveyard. Icarus Wellspring, 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield or put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you can draw a card. Liquid Metal Coating is a 2 uncolored tap. Target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types until end of turn. It can be very handy if you're going to do that, the board clear and artifacts stay, but everything else dies. The Mind Stone. You see people run quite a few of these as well. 2 mana. You can tap and add 1 mana to your pool, or you can sacrifice it and draw a card. I'm pretty sure the deck that uses the Worm Coils uses those Mind Stones as well. Mysosonith Wellspring, possibly? Maybe? Possibly? Jace, what do you think? He doesn't talk back. 2 uncolored. When the Wellspring enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Swiftfoot Boots, pretty cool looking. It's kind of like Quicksilver, but his feet are on fire. 2 uncolored. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. It only costs 1 to equip that ability. Or that equipment, I guess is the proper way to say that. Commander's Sphere, 3 uncolored. Artifact. You can tap and add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sacrifice the Commander's Sphere and draw a card. Pristine Talismans, 3 uncolored. Tap and add 1 mana to your mana pool and gain 1 life. Unstable Obelisk, 3 uncolored. You can tap and add 1 uncolored to your mana pool. For 7 and tap, you can sacrifice it and destroy target permanent. Dreamstone Hedron is a 6 uncolored. Tap and add 3 to your pool, 3 and sacrifice, and you can draw 3 cards. Ooh, he looks like an Eldrazi. That's probably what he's from, especially being a 6 mana cost. And our last card of the deck is a Lore Seeker Stone. 6 uncolored, 3 and tap, draw 3 cards. This ability costs 1 more to activate each card in your hand. So the smaller your hand gets, the more you can do it. The bigger your hand gets, the harder it is to do. And guys, with that being said, that is the Built from Scratch Commander's deck. It's one of the harder ones to find. I believe that the red and the white one, I believe, are the hardest ones to find. Pretty easy to find Pure Through Time, which is blue, and I think it's Guided by Nature. That's the green. So I hope you enjoyed these. Let me know. Leave a subscribe, comment, like, leave something down below. Lets me know you like the Commander videos, and I'll keep picking up the rest of the Commander boxes. And we'll finish up the series for these. As always, thanks for watching, and keep playing Magic.